And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. New York opinion columnist Benny Avni wrote this today in the New York Post. Obama has turned Putin into the world's most powerful leader. After both men gave speeches at the UN General Assembly yesterday, many believe the American president was playing it a bit too soft when using language like this.
We must go forward in pursuit of our ideals, not abandon them at this critical time. We must give expression to our best hopes, not our deepest fears. This institution was founded because men and women who came before us had the foresight to know that our nations are more secure when we uphold basic laws and basic norms and pursue a path of cooperation over conflict. And strong nations, above all, have a responsibility to uphold this international order.
So does Mr. Avni have this right? Has Obama really turned Putin into the world's most powerful leader, Joe Concha?
Looks can be deceiving. We are still the most powerful nation on earth. We're the only superpower. However, Putin is the mover and shaker right now. Walks into Crimea, not even a shot fired. Takes over an entire country. Now he's in Syria. He's a player again. He's making Russia look relevant, Rick. But this is what happens when you create vacuums. 2003, we take out Saddam Hussein. There's a vacuum. Al-Qaeda in Iraq, it's unsettled for a while. We go to a surge, calm things down, then we pull our troops out because Obama wants a legacy to be the guy who took the troops home. Right. What happens? ISIS goes in. Vacuums are always filled. This is what's happening here in Syria, and it's being filled by, of all countries, Russia.
See, this is what happens when we both wear purple ties. I actually agreed, Carol, with most of what Joe had to say. How can somebody become overnight the most powerful leader in the world when they run a country that's simply not the most powerful country in the world? They're almost broke. They've got nothing but problems. I think Avni's overstating it, don't you?
Well, I think the fact that he rides his horse bareback, you know, without a shirt on, I think that has made him the most powerful man. But that aside,
so does Rick.
It's very difficult when you have a country that is in a recession, that doesn't have economic growth, that has economic sanctions from a lot of other countries around the world, to be the superpower. Right. That being said, we'll put that aside for a second. I do think that Obama has contributed to what I like to call the wussification of America. And while we still remain a superpower, we're not felt that way in the world.
Well,
today.
While President Obama called for diplomacy to end conflict with groups like ISIS and terrorists worldwide, Russian President Vladimir Putin appeared to take a more direct approach to dealing with terrorists.
On the basis of international law, we must join efforts to address the problems that all of us are facing and create a genuinely broad international coalition against terrorism. Similar to the anti-Hitler coalition, it could unite a broad range of forces that are resolutely resisting those who, just like the Nazis, sow evil and hatred of humankind.
Now, with the news that Russia has entered into an intelligence pact with Syria and Iraq to defeat ISIS, many are saying that Putin has gained the upper hand when it comes to which leader in the world will carry the most influence in the Middle East. To discuss this, let's bring in our friend Jim Hansen from the Center for Security Policy. Mr. Hansen served in the U.S. Army Special Forces and conducted counterterrorism, counterinsurgency, and other operations in more than a dozen countries. Welcome, Jim. Good to have you back.
Always good to be here.
So listen, Jim, I know you watched both of those speeches at the UN. What did you think?
I mean, you got a world-class tough guy, and then you've got the world's most successful beta male. There is absolutely no comparison. Obama is a sorry excuse for a leader, and I hesitate to even use the word leader.
How do you really feel, Jim?
Well, I thought you guys were doing a pretty good job of kicking him, but there's a few ribs not broken yet in that dead horse, so I'll jump on.
Jim, how much do you think Obama, the president, not following through with the red line that he said he would draw in Syria after Assad used chemical weapons on his own people, and then, of course, we didn't do anything? You think Putin sits back, sees that, and says, I can do whatever I want. This president is not going to follow through on anything that resembles a threat of force.
Yeah, I mean, Obama's signature move is the kowtow, and he's willing to capitulate to anybody, and that was a perfect example of it.
What's a kowtow?
Bow down.
Oh, bow down. Okay, I think you
Yeah,
said cow.
kowtow is a fancy, highfalutin Asian term for it.
Gotcha.
Which he
wait a
uses for the
second, Jim.
Chinese.
There's an
Go ahead.
inconsistency here. Do you think that we should be removing Assad from power right now in the middle of all this?
I think we should have removed Assad from power when he stepped over that red line.
And then
as
who
the
would have
US
filled that
president.
vacuum?
Who cares when you've got a genocidal
Really?
dictator barrel bombing his people and using chemical weapons? The correct thing to do is to take him out and then deal with the consequences afterwards, rather than leave him in power, let 4 million people become refugees, and somewhere closing in on 1 million people in that region dead.
But most people think that ISIL would have stepped into that vacuum.
Who knows? First of all, anybody who says they know what would have happened, I don't believe. But
Well,
what was
that's not
happening?
very good answer, Jim.
No. What is happening, what was happening, and what will continue to happen is that Assad will continue to slaughter everyone. And now he's got the Russians and the Iranians as allies, and we're going to be what? Their intelligence sources? Because we share intel with the Iraqis, who now share that with the Russians and Iranians. Well done, Barack. You put us all the way at the back of the bus.
Jim, just one quick question. If ISIL is, and we only have 10 seconds.
We only have 10 seconds.
If ISIS is defeated, though, in terms of means to an end, this is a good thing, right?
Yes.
Quickly, Jim. That was quick. Thank you. Jim Hansen from the Center for Security Policy. Thanks for coming on. I know we'll have you back. As many of you know, Dr. Ben Carson has been sharply criticized for saying that a Muslim should never be president. He has now released an urgent newsletter to the public on Newsmax.com. It's exclusive to us, and it's important that you take the time to read it. You can find the letter at Newsmax website. Read Dr. Carson's urgent letter about why he's making a stand on this issue. And if you stay with us, we're coming right back.